Hello, Fiona.
Hello, good evening rather than good morning.
It is good evening today. Yes, the light.
I was going to say there's no hiding the fact, is it, with the lights? Me with my bagel light, as I
Mhm.
call it. How are you? What are you drinking?
I'm on my horny man again, and it's the cinnamon and apple. It's quite nice.
You're going to give me the giggles with this. Perhaps not say
Mm.
I'm on in that
I'm on
context.
the horny man. Okay.
Sorry.
It's a serious
Seriousness. Well,
podcast, Fiona.
I personally am on Feathers McGraw tea.
Hey.
Yeah, I do like these. I think I've said, I think I've had this one before. I have a Wallace and Gromit one, which is called something like Morty Gromit. And then I've got this one that's a Feathers McGraw, and it's the same brand. It's Bird and Blend, and it's really nice. So
Yeah, excellent.
Feathers
Well,
McGraw
shall
tea.
we shall we dive into today's
We
topic?
shall dive in. Yes. I've written a course book called Dive In.
Oh yeah. Extra little plug there. Fantastic.
Course, 4 parts, 4 summer. Yeah.
Well, on the topic of dive in, we are
Mhm.
not doing AI because that is one of the kind of the key phrases that AI tends to come up with. Let's do a deep dive into. But anyway, we're not going to talk about
Yeah,
AI.
let's not go down. No, not today. Another
No,
day. Another day. Yeah.
another day. Instead, we're going to be doing phrasal verbs.
Yes, which used to be the buzzword.
Yeah,
Yeah, phrasal verbs. Or prepositional verbs or
multi-word verbs.
exactly. This is it.
They've got lots of
Let's throw
names.
them all in the pot together. Yes.
And they often cause a sense of frustration in our learners a lot of the time when they hit kind of B1 plus level. They hear the term phrasal verb and go,
Yeah,
ugh.
I was going to say, is it the phrasal verbs that cause frustration or the person teaching them the phrasal verbs?
Ooh.
Sometimes I think it's the teacher
Hmm.
or the materials
Hmm. Yep.
because for me, bottom line is it's if you don't sort of underline the fact that these things are called phrasal verbs, they're just another kind of vocabulary.
Yes.
And it's just the same as one letter spelling. What's the difference between mart and heart? Well, one letter. And what's the difference between, I don't know, get in and get on? It's one letter.
Yeah, although I do feel that often a lot of the frustration comes from the fact it's around the prepositions, I think,
Uh,
because, for example, in Spanish, in, on tends to be just a single preposition. And so then for the
yeah,
students, they've already had enough trouble identifying when they say in and when they say on, like,
yeah,
prepositions of time. The number of times I hear on March, in Monday. And so then combining that with, then there's this verb which has a meaning, and then you can use this verb with in and this verb with on, and it has different meanings, but then you can use in with this verb and on with this verb. And I think then I can understand why it's
that's
frustrating.
why, in a sense, I take it away from even looking at the in and the on and making it more like sing and song, whereby, the meaning is somewhat related, but you'd use them in different contexts and they
Hmm.
don't mean
Hmm.
the same. And instead of sort of really focusing on the fact that, oh, this is an on and this is an in, just it's the spelling. In a sense, it's the spelling. And
Hmm.
if you don't teach them at the same time, I mean, a lot of it comes, a lot of confusion. I don't think people do this as much now, but it used to happen even in course books where you would present six phrasal verbs with look all at once, or all the ones would take
Mm.
this sort of thing. And then, I mean, yeah, confusion's inevitable in that, isn't it?
Yeah, 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 definitely. And I think as well, what you said there about focusing on one part of it. So quite often, activities might be a gap fill where you have to put the right preposition. But actually,
Mm.
if you give them a list of phrasal verbs and they have to just put the correct phrasal verb in, they're seeing it as one chunk.
Exactly, this is it. And I think it's if you're going to put clumps of phrasal verbs in a lesson and you want something, some element of it to be the same, I think there's perhaps more mileage to be had out of the second particle being the one that, the
Yeah,
drink up,
definitely.
eat up, tidy up, shut up.
Yeah.
I can't think of more with up. There must be more. Clean up, wipe up,
Hmm.
um, all the ones that mean completely. And then they can kind of see that the up is consistent and it doesn't mean up. It means
Mm.
that they have that in common. And then it's a case of going, oh yeah, eat up means that, clean up means that, write up your notes
Yeah.
means
Yeah.
that. A lot more than, I don't know, take in and take up
Take
and
over.
take over, exactly, or get in, get on with,
Mm.
get over, get through, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, my first point of call would be a context,
Hmm.
like crime, beat
Well,
up.
this is it. Thematically makes sense. I mean, but
Yeah.
that's true of all vocab, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I do think it's one of the areas of teaching, ELT anyway, that has changed a lot since the days of my youth. Especially the dinosaur. Do you realize I've called myself a fossil? I keep coming back to this. I need to forget this. Anyway, when I first started teaching, well, first of all, I didn't have books. There were books that had been published, but it was more where I worked was Follow Me, which was the TV series. And it was video cassettes in those days. And then Headway had just not long come out. It might have been 2 years or so before, but there was only the green one was available. And then the kind of the grayish blue, the upper intermediate one came out round about when I started teaching. But the green first edition, which was intermediate, I believe it's the green one, had a lesson on phrasal verbs. And it was enough to traumatize the teachers, let alone the students. However, as a lesson for trainee teachers, it was pretty good. It just wasn't really appropriate for students, but it went into the ones you can separate, the ones you can't, the three foot, the ones with no object, and then the transitive one, so intransitive and transitive, separable, non-separable,
Yeah.
two parts, three parts, all this kind of stuff. I went through it all. And all in one lesson. And it was intermediate, it was most of the students were like, if they went into the class fairly comfortable about phrasal verbs, they came out going, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Without even considering that they'd already been using look at and listen to and all these things for a couple of years before they got to this lesson.
Mm. Mm.
Um, I can't think there's other I even look forward to, I guess, but then suddenly, boom, there was this in a mainstream, highly successful course. And of course, nowadays we've moved away completely from that. Who cares if it's a preposition or a pronoun or an adverb, the
Mhm.
particle? And yeah, okay, if you're going to analyze or parse, there's a good word, the sentences, that's useful information, but to learn it, we've
Yeah.
moved away from that completely,
Yeah.
completely,
Yeah.
completely, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's interesting what you say there about students use a lot of phrasal verbs without even realizing it
Yeah.
because
It's
they're
only when
they're
you label
introduced to
them, they
them as
go,
language, as vocabulary. Like, what time do you get up? You do that when you're kind of
exactly. Oh, that's on it.
A1.
This is it. Get
Um,
up, wake up, all that stuff is early
yeah,
on. It's not wake up.
mm, yeah.
It's a
But
phrasal verb.
I definitely feel there comes a point, and I do think it's around the B1 plus B2 stage where
Hmm.
they suddenly start labeling them and start teaching them as you're going to learn these six phrasal verbs.
But that's, it's not the students that are labeling them, it's the teachers or the
Yeah. Yeah, the
materials.
materials. Yeah.
So it's not the phrasal verb per se that traumatize. It's how they are frequently taught.
Hmm.
And therefore, I think there's a huge advantage to not labeling them at all and just saying, this was one of those verbs where you can stick them, if it's a pronoun, put it in the middle, and if not, stick it at the end, and learn some example sentences, and away you go.
Yeah, yeah,
Go back to
absolutely.
AA Mill, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Have yourself a little mnemonic or something that will remind you.
Hmm. One
Look
thing
forward
though,
to it, not look forward it to, this sort of thing. And
one way though that I do like labeling phrasal verbs is with phrasal verb challenges. So
what's
I
that?
I
Tell
did it a
us.
few years ago, when I was teaching a group of adults, and I started it out that I took a photo that kind of showed a phrasal verb, put it in the WhatsApp group, and they had to kind of guess what it was, and then I would nominate the next person. And now I'm part of an English community, English language learning community. Every Friday, I post a phrasal verb challenge. So I take a picture or I share a little video clip or something, and I always have a phrasal verb in mind,
Hmm.
but the ideas that all of these learners come out with is amazing. I remember one time I posted, I went out for a walk, and in the middle of the salt marshes where I live, there was just this like little guitar leaning against a bush,
Yeah.
which had no sense being there. So I was like, perfect. I came across a guitar in the salt marshes. So I posted this photo. And then one of the students came across, stumbled across. And I was
Oh, I
like, I
like
didn't
it.
even think of
Yeah.
that one. That's amazing.
That's great. That's much fun. I'm looking up here that Lucy Holmes and her co-author, whose name escapes me right now, it's Charlene, it's a name like that. Anyway, Lucy Holmes has a book of like cartoons for phrasal verbs. And there
Mm,
used to be that I was at Hers Idioms, and there was the one years ago with pictures. But I like the photo idea much better than that. But it's the same kind of
mm. Yeah.
using pictures to fix it in the memory.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
good, isn't it? It's good. And
Yeah.
also allowing space for the creativity. It's not so the drawing stuff is really good. I can't remember the name of that book. There was anybody my age will remember it. A book of cartoons of phrasal verbs where the funny little guys with the big noses. Um, but of course those cartoons were drawn specifically to elicit like a particular
Hmm.
phrasal verb, whereas a photo like you just suggests it's got that so
Yeah.
much more space for.
And I said to them the other day in the group, last month sometime, um, like I posted a little message. I was like, I could take a picture of any random object and you would all just come out with amazing phrases because, it just gets their creativity, it gets them
Um,
trying to use language in a real way. Um, and so yeah, so big love to everybody in the school community.
nice. I'm gonna love my students. No, I was gonna say well, something we do with my students is a bit like that slug in love story we mentioned before. I've got some stuff here. The nearest one to read access is this one. Um, kids book, short story, and get them to read it, look at it. I mean, there's not enough a lot of words in this one, but doesn't that's almost better. And then express the story using as many phrasal verbs as possible. And then whoever's managed to tell, or that page of story using, I don't know, 15 phrasal verbs, and it makes sense, gets the
Mhm.
point, gets the marshmallow or whatever it is. That's a good way for using them. Or if you're doing like more academic and formal, you reverse it. You find a text with loads of phrasal verbs and get them to they're not allowed to use
Yeah.
any,
Yeah.
which is almost impossible because depending on the text,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
um,
a good idea. Yeah.
most phrasal verbs have a synonym, but not all.
No. And I think that's good as well because I have a lot of Italian and Spanish learners, and so they
Mm.
tend to use the cognates
Yeah, as I say, they tend to avoid them,
rather
don't
than
they?
the
Yeah.
phrasal verbs. So actually something like that.
Yeah.
So
I think
again, kind of,
Germanic first speaking languages may be a bit more. And with my Japanese, they're kind of okay with it.
mhm.
They was get them right, but they're, yeah, carry
Yeah.
on, sorry.
No, 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 that's fine. So yeah, so that idea of giving them the phrasal verbs, then getting them to give them more. Oh, I've put my hand up. Oops, that's happened a lot recently. Um, yeah, giving them the text, getting them to underline where those phrasal verbs are, giving the other options, and then going, but when you're using them in real life, use these. Use
Yeah,
these when you're writing. Yeah.
yeah. Another thing to do is record yourself in any class or even a conversation like this. Record yourself and then go back through it and get to spot how many you used. But make sure that it's like a spontaneous conversation rather than one where you've gone into class and said, I'm going to drink up right now. I'm going to
Everybody get out your
I'm going to see
pencils
if I
and
can
jot
get
down
this
some words.
information through to you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's just,
Mm.
just go in and with your phone and just record a discussion on anything.
Yeah.
It could even be like the Monday morning. What did you do at the weekend? It could be like we had this week, the importance of critical thinking skills, why we should not lose our critical, anything like that. And then just go back and say, look, this is me speaking to you normally.
Hmm.
Here
Yep.
it is.
Yep.
Listen in and then send them out into if you're like here, I mean, you're okay, you're an L2, but you've got tourists around, but any situation where they can listen to people or go on YouTube and find, but something like an interview or a news
Hmm.
report, not something scripted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then just whether they understand them or clear, fully or not, just how many can they spot? Because we use a lot.
Hmm. Hmm.
I wonder how, here's a curiosity thing. I wonder, English teachers, if we use as many as normal people when we speak, because we've always got the little filter switched on, don't we? There are switch on. There's one.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Be interesting to know. I don't know. Maybe not interesting for anybody but me, but
Well, I mean, going back to what we've said before about being our authentic selves in the
mm,
classroom, I would imagine as much as possible. We might grade things a little, but
this is it. Yeah. If
yeah,
I was teaching C2, C1, C2, I wouldn't be speaking the same way as A1 and A2.
definitely. Mm.
And
Mm.
again, possibly though, I have a slight, is it an advantage or disadvantage to you in this sense? I teach Japanese students. I really don't speak. I speak minimal Japanese. I'm
Hmm.
like A1, definitely A1, A1 plus at a push, but whereas you speak Spanish, so it's much easier for you to select your language for
True,
lower levels,
true.
knowing that if you use a cognate, they've got more chance of understanding you. Whereas me, I just have to hope.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting. Oh, yeah.
Just
Record yourself and see how many phrasal verbs you use when you talk to your student.
Well, one quick thing to finish on, going back to the weekend. So recently with my teens, I've been saying, "Oh, what did you get up to at the weekend?" And one of them, his response is always, "Well, I got up about 9 o'clock," and I keep forgetting to kind of explain, "No, what did you get up to? Is what
Yeah.
did you do?"
Oh,
But,
yes. There's a
yeah.
few around like that. I can't think there's one that my students confuse. Well, give him the phrasal verb of the week.
Mm.
Just they have a little card, like a business card type thing, and they write a phrasal verb like get up to, whatever, something like that, and stick it in their pocket, and they have to try and use it at least once an hour. And
Nice.
they carry it around. And they, like once an hour, every once 2 hours or whatever you want to agree with them. Obviously not when they're asleep, but they just carry it around and they have to try to include it. Or if for example, that's me in an L1 context, but you in an L2 context, they could try to use it at least 3 times in the hour that they're speaking English or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And they set themselves a little challenge. And then if they manage it, it goes in the other pocket. And then they get one in this pocket
Ooh,
again. And at the end of the week, they should have seven in their
in the other
right
pocket.
hand, whichever
Mhm.
pocket. And they just go through and check that they know the meaning and then whee, next one.
Fab. I like it.
Do that with
Awesome.
anything, but it works really well with phrasals because it kind of makes it the challenge is not in remembering what it means. The
Yeah.
challenge is in,
Using
getting
it. Yeah. Yeah.
your little dopamine hit.
And if they're out and about, they'll get some serotonin as well.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
Very good. Okie dokie. Well, we'll be back next week with another topic. Uh,
Hmm.
see you again
And
soon.
another cup of tea.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.